Okey-dokey. This is what I usually do. Make sure that I'm actually live because it doesn't always show you. Hey guys, if you are watching, thank you so much for tuning in. This is Peter Bedman. He is with me today, possibly one of the only men that we will have in the Facebook group. So don't worry, he won't be able to see or read any of the posts or comments. He's just here popping by with me for a little live. It has come to my attention that I might not actually even be on camera, but we'll see. We'll see. I'm not too sure if I'm on camera or not. Anyway, so this is Peter. What he's going to do today is just kind of explain where he's come from, his journey to being whole foods plant-based, what he's had to overcome, what he's had to shift in terms of mental and physical, what he's learned along the way, and tips. And the reason why I thought this was super important to bring him in is because it has come to my attention that so many women struggle to get their partners, their family, their friends on board, or even just to help support them. I speak to so many women who say, oh, my husband, he doesn't care, or my partner, he's not very supportive. And some guys are always wanting kind of a little bit of evidence and proof that it does work for guys as well. So if you're watching live, just pop in the group #live. If you're watching replay, pop in there #replay. Just making sure that I'm not on mute or something stupid like that, because I always do that. Awesome. So this is Pete, and I would like you to tell the ladies here your story of how you got here from this person, which we can see on screen.
I can't even recognize that first.
I know, right? So from this person to the person that you are now. So if you're looking at the screen, the photo on the right hand side there is the most recent photo. The one in the middle is when we first met, and the one on the left hand side was a while ago. So if you can just kind of rewind and start from the beginning.
Sure. First of all, thanks for having me on. It's very nice. So basically, yeah, I mean, I used to be a big guy, as you can see, 19 stone. I guess I went through a phase where I was very settled. I found eating just quick foods very easily. And probably didn't even realize I was sort of getting to the size I was. Then I decided to make a change, decided to just kind of eat 3 meals a day. They were still pretty crappy meals, to be honest with you. But it made a difference. And then I kind of just leveled out, I would say, again, just eating regular processed foods, meat foods, regular foods that most people are sort of eating, no strict diet or anything like that. And then obviously I ended up living with yourself. Mm-hmm. You were plant-based, and to me it just kind of made sense that I've always been someone that wanted to lose weight and look fit. I saw you and thought, wow, this is what you're eating, maybe this would be great for me. And it just made sense. I think after my first shop, I kind of looked at it and thought, this is really difficult, cooking 2 meals. We're in each other's way while we were cooking. And I just thought, hey, let's give it a go. Let's eat your diet, see how it goes. Mm-hmm. As you know, it was a bit of a shock to me to start off with. And my vegan journey was a little bit different. I thought it was just switching regular foods to vegan foods, mm-hmm, rather than kind of going real sort of deep into it. But yeah, that was my journey from basically being really big, eating crappy foods, not really exercising, not really being healthy, to just kind of being a regular person, but again, not a great diet, to someone that has thoroughly enjoyed becoming vegan and now reaping the rewards and the benefits. I guess that's the journey.
So if you can tell us like a little bit about how you felt, like what were you feeling when you were roughly around 19 stone? So if you guys can see the photo, I think you can.
Such a terrible picture. Please don't make people look at that. Brilliant.
I'm useless with the zoom and the cameras. So if you can see on the left-hand side, that was Pete when you said you were about 19 stone, right?
Yeah.
You're a hardcore meat lover. You didn't do much exercise, pretty much convenience foods and lots of alcohol.
Yeah.
Do you remember what it was like feeling like that? At all?
I mean, I guess it's like anything. When you're eating really crappy comfort foods, you feel great because it's just feels good. It's dirty foods. It's kind of what so many people crave. Like I say, I wasn't really an exercise guy then anyway. I was very much sitting in front of a computer playing games, and
you liked watching sport.
I've always loved watching. But I mean, don't get it wrong, I always wanted to do it and I tried to do it, but I think I got to a point in the size where I just got home from work and just wanted to sit in front of a computer and eat a pizza, and that was me. So yeah, I think sort of thinking back in those days, my tastes were just, I wanted cake, I wanted burgers, I wanted chips, and that was what I craved. That was what I was eating for so long. If I was out and about and I went to a convenience store, I'd grab a pie or a pasty. They were my cravings. That was the food that I enjoyed going to. So that's kind of what I sort of remember being that size, and what I looked forward to was going into just places which I now look at and think these are filthy, dirty places.
So it's interesting that you say, like, I wasn't particularly like sluggish. I didn't feel necessarily heavy. I didn't feel tired, because a lot of people at that weight would say that. So it kind of just goes to show that you can be happy big as well. So like, I mean, please correct me if I'm wrong, but like, it didn't feel for you at that time that you were really lacking in energy or really tired?
Not so much, but only because I wasn't really doing any activities to make me feel like I was weak or I didn't have the energy. The sport I did was golf or darts and pool in the pub. So
yeah, that doesn't count as sport.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. So yeah, listen, if I kind of wanted to do an exercise, and trust me, when I went from that size down to the smaller size, it took me a while to run any sort of distances. You know, I started off like walking before I started running and things like that. So yeah, I mean, I guess I knew I wasn't anywhere near as fitter than my friends were, that were a smaller size.
But you were happy in that moment. Like, you were fine.
Listen, yeah, I was happy, but I think deep down, I always didn't want to be that size. I think it just, in my mind, it hadn't triggered that I was that size. And I think it was kind of when I turned 30, I kind of realized that I was just, I had to do something about it. So,
so you lost a lot of the weight way before we met. So I can't take credit for that, and I'm not going to sit here and take credit for that. So Pete lost most of the weight, as you can see on the screen, roughly around that time in the middle photo. That's roughly around when we met.
So that was pretty much when we, I mean, when we met, I think I was exactly the same size. I went for a plateau of being that size for a few years for sure.
And this is you now, which is an incredible transformation. Yeah, we'll come to this in a minute. No umming and ahhing. It's an incredible transformation. Awesome. So, I mean, what were your prior thoughts on like vegans, plant-based, whole foods? Did you have any thoughts around it? Like, when you heard that I was vegan or plant-based, like, what did you think straight away? Were you like, oh God?
I wouldn't say would have sort of thought, oh God. To me, it's not really been something I've even really sort of contemplated or thought about. To me, the sort of natural diet was just to eat your meats and things like that. But listen, I'm from Brighton, born and bred, so things that are different come pretty normal to me.
Sorry, just for because most of my audience isn't from Brighton.
Okay.
Brighton is like the gayest, most flamboyant city
we
of
accept
the
everything
UK.
in Brighton. There is
Pretty
nothing
much, it's
that
why I
is
moved here. It's why I
strange
moved.
or weird.
Mhm.
But I think if someone sort of said to me, what would you sort of think of veganism? I would sort of almost think that kind of like, oh, that sort of hippie lifestyle, that sort of just being different, being very much against cruelty to animals.
Mhm.
That would kind of be what I would sort of mainly think. I never really sort of thought of it as a fitness thing or a healthy thing. It was more just getting away from the cruelty of animals. I would say that would be the main thing for me.
Mhm.
But I guess moving in with yourself and seeing it, I did see a completely different aspect of what it's all about.
Mhm.
And yeah, just a complete game changer for me, really.
Absolutely. And you might see me looking up there. I've got all my notes on the wall. And it's really interesting as well, because when you first moved in, you were like, oh, I'll make a vegan dish for you. You're like, oh, yeah, like vegan nice.
Loaded fries.
Me, who was like, oh, I'll make a vegan dish. And this is really what separates veganism, plant-based, and whole foods, right? Is Pete came in, he was like, oh, you're vegan. And then so he was like, oh, I'll make you a meal. And then I just saw like this bag of chips, bag of like vegan cheese, mayo, sriracha, like loads of unhealthy stuff. So, I mean, did you know about plant-based or whole foods? Did you know the difference?
No, I mean, listen, I knew in the supermarket there were little sections that had the plant-based stuff. I really didn't have a clue about balanced diets and kind of what should be on your plate and what you should be eating on a daily basis to make things work. I guess I was going for a big transition at the time in my life and realized that there is so many things that can benefit you. And like I say, eating poor diet was one of those things. Didn't really realize it. But yeah, I mean, I saw the plant-based foods, and that to me, that was, again, vegan was, I kind of had an idea of what it was, but you start seeing all this plant-based stuff in the supermarkets. And again, as you said, like the first meal I tried to make you, it was just making sure there wasn't meat, wasn't dairy on the plate, rather than it being healthy. So to me, it was just cutting out them things. Little did I know that being healthy is quite, also being sort of whole food, plant-based is very different to just being vegan. There's definitely a difference. You know, there's so many people, and especially when, you know, when me and you go into town and we go out to somewhere that advertises vegan food and we turn up and it's just a vegan burger or it's loaded fries. It is terrible. And there's not necessarily any need for it because there's so much goodness out there which can be done for sure.
But that is the huge definitive part between veganism and plant-based, right? Is veganism is all for the animals and animal rights, which is incredible. But we want to make the shift towards plant-based. Now, talking of which, that huge shift, it kind of leaves a lot of men going, oh, but where am I going to get my protein from? Because a lot of people, not just necessarily men, but a lot of people go, okay, so if I'm going to go vegan, I'm going to go for all of these fake processed vegan meats, right? When we don't eat, I mean, rarely we will have some, and that's just because we just something different or a treat or a new flavor or something. But mostly we are predominantly whole foods. But for a lot of people, perhaps a lot of men that are thinking, or maybe I'll transition, they'll start looking at the plant-based alternatives, and that's when it gets really expensive as well. By the way, huge caveat here, like the plant-based meats is where veganism and plant-based diet gets expensive. If you stick to the whole foods, it's so much cheaper. Just a big side note. So I mean, on that note, I just really quickly want to go over that whole me mentality, right? And we're all being fed this information as we've grown up, through generations upon generations, through marketing, that meat is where you get your protein, meat is what you need. So as a male, did you struggle with that transition? Have you had any comments from people saying about, you know, where you're going to get protein or meat? Like, can we just go over your experience of this?
I mean, I guess my experience is more just when I sort of try and say to people to sort of eat more plant-based, be more whole food. It's just, oh, I can't get away from me. I need my meat. I wouldn't say, I mean, listen, I am very different to most men on the planet. So for me, if someone said to me,
He's not just being cocky,
why you not eating meats, and you're not, it wouldn't bother me in the slightest anyway, because I've always stuck up for everything that I believe in. I'm not someone that needs to shy away and pretend that all these particular man vibes are what it's all about, because you know, real men show their emotions and they're honest, and that's what it's about. But I feel that, yeah, the proteins within the meat is a complete myth. As you can see in the pictures, you can stay strong, you can stay fit without having to eat these meats. But I think it's just conditioned in us that men eat meat. It really isn't necessary, as I'm now finding out. I don't think I went into it thinking, Christ, I need to eat meat. I think it was just something that I've always had. So it's a habit. It takes so long to naturally not want to eat it or feel that you have to eat it. And the dairy side as well, you know, not just the meat, the milks for supposedly to strengthen your bones and the calcium in your teeth. It's, I guess, the way we're educated at schools, we're not educated in the right ways. We are strung a load of lies. But listen, I know real hard men from friends and in the gym that have gone on vegan diets before, and they're actually quite supportive of me. The world's changing for sure, but yeah, there are some stereotypical men out there that will feel that they need to eat meat. It's a necessary thing to get their proteins for their strength, and yeah, this a load of BS.
And I just want to target something right now, because I know you've got thick skin here, but there might be some guys watching and looking at your transformation and going, yes, but he's very, very slim and I want more muscle, right? Okay. First of all, I just want to say, listen, Pete has gotten from a very large weight, he's dropped off all the fat, and now we're rebuilding. Okay, so we're in a rebuilding stage. So this is a beautiful way to transition. Doesn't mean that there's a lot of mindset shifting that still needs to happen, but this is part of your journey, right? We're not at the end. We're never going to be at the end of your journey. We're all on our own journey, and you know, it's always never ending. However, for those men who want to build a lot of muscle and say, oh yeah, but that doesn't look natural, building a lot of muscle is not natural. Like the state that you're in now, I would say is more of a homeostasis, like exactly where the human body is designed to be, as opposed to like a bodybuilder style. So you see these muscle heads, and I'm sorry if you're a muscle head, you see these people at the gym who are absolutely huge, but that is also not healthy. So people are saying, oh yeah, you need me to build more muscle. Well, actually building more muscle and building beyond homeostasis is not healthy. It puts a lot of extra pressure on your internal systems as well. And it's not a natural place to be. So especially the big guys at the gym, when they look at smaller guys, or when they look at building muscle, that's also not a natural thing. You're like people who have gone through anorexia are changing their bodies and manipulating their bodies. On the complete other spectrum, on the complete other side of that spectrum, you've got people who are building as much muscle as they can. They're eating as much meat as they can, as much calories as they possibly can, beyond physical like appetite. Like I know so many men who are trying to build as much muscle as they can, and they literally tell me that they can't eat enough calories to build this to the size that they want, and they feel physically sick. They're struggling to reach their calories. They're having like 4,000 calories for breakfast, 4,000 calories for lunches. And this is no exaggeration, right? I worked in a gym for 6 months, and this is what happens on a day-to-day basis. So for those people who might be saying, oh yeah, but I want to build more muscle, and that's not necessarily healthy, or look at a smaller body. Well, building muscle isn't healthy either. So choose your healthy, right? And you can get to that level as well, by the way, because all it is eating an excess of calories. And you can do that on a whole foods plant-based diet.
Well, listen, if people are seeing that end picture and seeing, oh, he's slim, possibly, the reason for that is I've still got the mentality of eating food is putting on weight, and I'm very much worried that I'm going to become fat again. Listen, I've got issues just like everybody else with my weight and the way I look, and my mentality is the more food I eat, I'm just going to get fat. But since I've been whole food plant-based, I have definitely been able to eat so much more food, and at the moment I'm still not putting on weight. I'd like to put on weight, but I think my mentality is still not allowing me to eat as much food or more food like you're trying to get me to do, to sort of be able to build up a little bit more. But definitely having this diet allows me to eat so much more. It's my headspace, my mental sort of space, which is not allowing me to eat more to put on more weight. So if people are saying this guy, he's malnutritioned or he's not eating enough, look how skinny he is, that's purely on me. That's not on the diet. That's because I am worried that if I eat more, I am going to become big again. I'm trying to work on that. I'm trying to eat more so I can bulk up a little bit, but I'm just really concerned that I'm going to get fat again, and that's the reason. I'm not getting enough in me.
Before anyone passes judgment, I think it's really important to understand exactly where that person's come from and where that person's going and where they are at the moment. So yeah, on one note, like if someone is looking at your figure and thinking, well, he's very slender, well, there is a lot of mentality, and I do appreciate you telling my audience this, that Pete has gone from a very large body to a very small body using one formula, which is eat less, eat less, eat less, eat less, right?
Yeah, for sure.
So now, like I mentioned earlier, there's a mental mindset shift that needs to happen, which we are working on. And as much as Pete's not my client, he's my housemate, we're trying to do it in a non-professional setting, which can be quite difficult. But there's a lot of mindset shifts that Pete is working through himself of, okay, I'm not in that before stage now. I am where I am. I would say personally, from a professional point of view, there's a little bit of body dysmorphia in there, because I don't think you see the figure that you have and the person that you are. And this is so gender neutral. I'm sure so many of my women in the group can say that. How many of you have dropped some weight but still thought, or was still stuck in that mentality that you were still that bigger person? I see it all the time with my clients. It's one of the biggest things that we have to shift when we want to shift weight, is shifting that identity and that beliefs as well. It's a huge factor of losing weight. But now Pete's still stuck in that mentality of, I need to eat more calories to build more muscle, which is what we're working towards now, right? But it's just like that mental block of, no, but I shouldn't be eating more calories because I'm going to get fat. But the thing that we're doing is working on a plant-based diet, not a vegan diet, but a plant-based, whole foods plant-based diet, where everything that is going in is healthy, nutritious, and on purpose.
Yeah, and that's it. I mean, I'm still snacking, but fortunately for me, the snacks that you make during the week are healthy snacks.
You're the best housemate ever.
Exactly. I mean, listen, I'm guilty. I'm snacking and raiding the fridge and raiding the cupboards, but that junk food, that crap food is not there anymore.
I can be sitting in the office and I just hear like ruffling around in the kitchen. And I'm like, oh, you truffle pig, what you doing?
Exactly. I'm the truffle pig. But, my snacks, and then people are going to think, oh, that's so not tasty. That's just, why would you eat that? You get used to it, just having great dips or homemade hummuses in the fridge and having rice cakes, or just grabbing pieces of fruit, or grabbing a bag of pumpkin seeds or something. These are the things that I've been able to bring into my life that I can still snack. But if I'm snacking on healthy foods, then I'm still feeding my body with the right things, and I'm not putting on weight.
You're putting on the right weight.
Yeah, I guess.
You're putting on muscle.
Yeah, but it's it's the right things to snack on. It's getting rid of that stuff in the house that doesn't serve you, and having the foods that we've created that help making us feel good. If we snack, we don't feel really guilty, that we can think, I can snack, I can eat this stuff, there's low calorie, it's good for me, it's adding to my balanced diet. Yeah, have healthy snacks in the house, get rid of the crap, that's for sure.
So what have been your biggest struggles then? You briefly mentioned it about breaking old habits and old thinking patterns. What have been your other biggest struggles?
I guess big struggles for me, it's definitely, like I say, raiding cupboards, snacking, but previously it's been really bad processed food, so having decent stuff in the house. If I want a snack, that's good.
Can I just add again, just reiterate, he is not my client, so I can't help him with that thing, because sometimes he doesn't want help.
I guess other struggles have been, I guess, just getting out that mentality of naturally having a dinner which involves me. I come from, I guess, a traditional family, which it was meat and 2 veg on the plate. There was pretty much always meat for dinner. If I went to a restaurant, the first thing I would do is look down the menu and look at what meats were there and see what I fancied. I wouldn't necessarily look at the dish, I'd look at the meats. And now, because we cook so much food and use so many different ingredients, I've realized that food's more about just flavors and textures and things like that. It's not necessarily about the individual ingredients, it's just how a plate and a dish comes together. And the issues were, I think even after like 3 months and we went out to restaurants to have Sunday lunch, I did treat myself to like pork loin and that, but it was so sporadic. But I was just like, I think naturally thinking it's a Sunday roast, I wanted a nice bit of pork.
I don't think I'll ever forget when you turned around and said to me,
a Yorkshire pudding.
I'm a seitan next
time.
But
now I look at a menu and the first thing I look at are the vegan options. I don't even look at the meat options. I don't look at anything. I just look at the vegan options, because I know that it's going to be just as tasty. There's so many things out there now.
So would you say then your biggest struggles would just be getting used to this shit, just habitualizing it? So instead of going out to a restaurant, if that was your biggest struggle, by the way, these guys are
we're conditioned, we've done it for 40 years, so I'm going to be just naturally thinking that's what needs to be on my plate.
So just kind of changing that shift, when you're going out, instead of looking straight at the meat options, you now look for the vegan veggie options. If that was your biggest struggle, then people have got nothing to worry about.
I can understand it's like anything. Giving up anything is really hard, whether it's smoking, whether it's alcohol, whether it's a specific food. It's not easy, but if there are things around you that are helping you, then it is a damn sight easier.
There's so many benefits to this diet, right? There's so many benefits. Health, internally, externally, what is going on inside, what's going on externally, so that actual
that's been something that's been really great for me. I've suffered with sort of stomach problems and things like that.
No, you have.
Because I think you saying it, it's just reminded me. I used to have real bad sort of stomach problems and bowel problems, and honestly, just having.
Can you tell them about like what the doctor said and made it worse?
Oh, Christ! They thought I was a celiac and I had to have a gluten-free diet. That clearly wasn't the case. They said I had IBS. And listen, I don't understand why doctors and hospitals don't look massively into your diet and get you eating healthy. They just want to say that you're this, cut out that. It's quite worrying, the fact that I went through operations and had cameras in all holes that you don't even want to know about, but they go through all of that trouble and then prescribe you and say you're something that clearly I wasn't. And basically just having a healthy diet has cleaned me out, and my gut, my stomach has probably never been better. And
And more regular
that's
as
with
well.
drinking alcohol as well.
And more regular as well, though.
Way more regular, yeah.
I remember when you
you can tell, can't you? Oh Christ, yeah. Yeah, it's family, right?
No, when Pete first started eating more plant-based foods, a lot more whole foods. I remember you messaging me once being like, hey, I know we're friends. I hope this is okay to ask you. But like I'm using the toilet more often. And I said, yeah, the funny thing is I was literally on my nutrition book at the same time that you text me. It was so weird. I was doing my nutrition studies then, and I was literally looking at gastrointestinal tract and looking at fiber and stuff. So at the came at the perfect timing, but you become so much more regular because of the quantity of fiber that you're consuming. It just makes you more regular, which is beautiful, and less constipated, less bloating, less cramps.
So much better.
Screw the doctors.
Yeah, I mean, they do a good job, but I guess it's only the way they're taught. They're only doing their job. Yeah, for sure.
They're not trained in nutrition, which isn't their fault, but at the same time, like, what the hell are these governing bodies doing?
Yeah, for sure.
They need to know. Okay, let's move on because we've already been 31 minutes. What has been your biggest learning curve?
Oof, biggest learning curve.
There's notes up there.
I mean, I don't know why I sort of. I mean, I guess the best thing for me to learn from this is that, yeah.
You can read your notes.
I don't even know what to look at now. We've spoken so much. I mean, we've gone so off course. It's ridiculous. I mean, the biggest learning curve is this works, and having someone with you that you can do it with, and that's I'm such a firm believer of doing something as a team anyway. And that's the biggest thing I can learn, is that anything I've always tried to do, if I've done it on my own, it's been hard, but do it with someone else. There is someone there that you can call upon that just drags you, come on, you can do this. And yeah, having you there to help me out on this has been great, which I guess is, again, like the sort of main point, you know, for why we're on today, is to sort of try and explain to people that having your partner on board really, really helps. And I guess that's the biggest learning curve, without having you there to be able to help me with these foods, to have these foods here, to have the right snacks around me, and give me the knowledge as well. That I didn't have any of this knowledge. I didn't know why it was good for me, why it would benefit me. And that's where I've been blessed and lucky to have you here, not as a coach, but, you know, as a housemate, to be able to give me the information, to allow me to think, you know, this is the right thing to do. This is the best thing for my body. You know, it's all very well going to the gym to, you know, create your fitness, to meditate, to help your brain, but to have the knowledge of the food and the healthy lifestyle, it is such a massive plus. Such a massive plus.
And I think to add to that, like, excuse me, one of the things that you've mentioned quite often is like learning how to compose plates, learning how to flavor things properly, learning about the different components of food. I mean, had you ever intentionally eaten like chickpeas before?
Intentionally?
Yeah.
Hell no.
So
I mean, yeah.
So I mean, I think
curry, like something like that, is probably the only time
the curry where it was accidentally served to you when you didn't order like a chicken.
More than likely.
Chicken tikka masala.
Yeah, probably from someone else's plate they've ordered and thought, oh, what's that? I'll give that a try.
But it doesn't taste like chicken.
Exactly.
Okay, so like I mean, I think I could probably answer this one a little bit on behalf of you, because I've spent so much time with you in the last 6 months. But I think being an outsider, your biggest learning curve is understanding how to put a plate together.
To be healthy and balanced, for sure. Yeah, I didn't realize that it's something that we really should be doing. I don't know why. It was just, for me, food was just there to eat. You eat your food, done. It wasn't about actually creating a support system for your body.
So I mean, there's that old, and then you mentioned it earlier, that the old myth of meat and 2 veg, and they weren't too wrong back in those days when people talked about meat and 2 veg. You know, they were going through the war. Like literally. So I mean, if they've moved on, then we also need to move on too. So we follow a specific kind of ratio of different foods, and that ensures that we have variety of foods and that we kind of cover all bases in terms of plant-based nutrition. So being able to compose that and put that together is, I think it's been your biggest learning curve, because it took you a few months of us cooking together and experimenting with meals. And then you were like, oh my God, I get it. But no, but you're doing so well now. Like, we'll look at a dish and you'll be like, where's the fat? Or, oh, we haven't got any grains. What am I going to add to this? And it's kind of like, it ends up being fun and experimental. Like,
it's the way it has to be. Everything has to be fun to be able to enjoy it and make it work.
Yeah, absolutely. As soon as you make it a chore, you make it difficult for yourself. As soon as you decide that it is hard, you are pushing a boulder uphill. You're making it harder for yourself. Do you still have any cravings?
I have cravings for healthy food and plant-based foods. I mean, I love sort of wandering around the store, finding little sort of things we haven't. I mean, Price, we found tempeh the other day, which we hadn't had, which we couldn't even find, and we've had that this week. Freaking hell, how amazing is that? The texture of
Pete's
that
number
is
one
insane.
tip: if you want to enroll your partner, loved one, housemate, friend, cook them tempeh.
Definitely for a texture. I mean, it's next level. I mean, we've created our own seitan and we've had tofu and things like that, but tempeh, the texture of that is just, I mean, if you're gonna try and help anybody or get someone into it, definitely that is the one. But I appreciate it can be quite expensive, but we've found it in like Asian supermarkets, and it is so much cheaper. And looking at the size of it compared to like 2 breasts of chicken or something, like, it is cheaper. It's just finding the right places. A lot of supermarkets, there's not a lot of sort of vegan options there. It is quite expensive, but just find the right places. The Asian stores, that's the place to go if you want like tofu, tempeh. But yeah.
For those of you that are in the States, you guys might call it Oriental stores. But yeah, that's where we find a lot of stuff: tofu, tempeh, soy sauce. We get nori, so seaweed sheets. We get our miso paste from there as well. So just really going out and we're really lucky. We are extremely lucky. We've got a Polish store, we've got a Middle Eastern store, we've got an Oriental store, and they're all very local. We are lucky. Some people don't have access to that. That's where Amazon comes in very handy.
But I definitely I don't crave meat anymore. It's taken me a while. Don't get me wrong, but we're talking probably well over 6 months, probably closer to 8 to 10 months for me to feel that I don't need meat. But I think it's a whole mixture of not eating it for so long, realizing I don't need to eat it, and also educating myself on the reasons why you don't need it.
I mean, if you're still arguing, if you're sat here watching this and you're still here, thank you for a start. But if you're sat here watching this thinking, oh, I still need my protein, the recommended daily intake, so the RDI, is 0.8 grams per kilo. So, I mean, for me, that's less than about 64 grams, whereas typically to please society, to please marketing, people are looking at like twice, like 2 grams per kilo. Whereas for an athlete, it is recommended 1.2 to 2 grams per kilo of body weight. So it really is much less than you think. And again, we've got, thanks to the marketing team. And again, I get a lot of people saying, oh yeah, but is it really marketing? Or like, is this just like a new wave of veganism? No, like, we had adverts. The government was putting adverts out for pregnant women to smoke. Okay. Science proves and disproves things as we go, right? So the science is out there that we don't necessarily need. My friend's died. We don't necessarily need the protein, as much protein as we think. We need a variety of foods. Or, like, let's just break this down now. Every single plant has a varying quantity of all the amino acids. You don't need to have beans and rice to make a complete protein, right? Our bodies are really, really good at storing what it needs when it needs to complete itself. So, you know, the science is out there for being plant-based. I'm not a science nutritionist, right? I'm a health coach with a nutrition background and nutrition. I'm a nutrition coach, but there is science out there, and there are so many. Oh yeah, I wrote this down as well. There are so many athletes out there that are also plant-based that fuel their sports. So I'm wondering whether you've heard of these, because 99.98% of these names I've never heard of, but you're big into sport. I know this one, Novak Djokovic.
Yeah, of course.
Did I pronounce
Didn't
that?
realise, but yeah.
NBA players, Chris Paul,
Yeah.
JaVale McGee.
Don't know.
Probably pronounce all of these names wrong. DeAndre Jordan.
Okay.
Wilson Chandler.
Not so sure.
NFL, Cam Newton.
Hey, big Cam, yeah. Organ guy.
Derek Morgan.
Not so much, don't know.
Plant-based. Lewis Hamilton.
Yeah, everybody should know freaking Lewis Hamilton. I mean,
Absolutely.
yeah.
And even Arnold Schwarzenegger has acknowledged that you don't need meat to build muscle, right? Now, and this is, guys, if you are looking for a little bit more science-based information, Plant-Based Athlete is one of my favorite books. I'm not sponsored by them. I wish I was. I just want to read this out. Edwin Moses won mind-boggling 122 consecutive races from 1977 to 1987. The fact that Moses went on to set four world records, win 2 Olympic gold medals, and win 2 world championship gold medals following a diet devoid of meat, sent a message to anyone who was paying attention. If one of the world's greatest athletes, especially one in an explosive, powerful sport, can succeed at such a high level without consuming meat, what could the rest of us accomplish? I really wanted to read that out because it was really kind of mind-blowing, mind-changing.
It's strong.
Okie dokie, so let's wrap up. What are your tips to help get partners, family, close ones, mostly the ones that we live with, the ones that need to be in our environment, the ones that we might cook with? What would be your top tips to help get them on board, to help support their partners?
Okay, so I think probably the biggest thing for me would just be to educate and talk to your partners. Such a big thing in life is that we assume that our partners know exactly what we're thinking, what we're going through. But we assume it, but we've never actually explained it or told our partners the reasons why we're doing it. So let's not assume it. Actually sit them down, explain why you're doing something, and maybe explain the help that you need. Also, I think one of the biggest things for me, the biggest catalyst, I think, for me from going not too sure if I might sneak a little bit of meat, but to completely go no meat, no dairy, is me and you just watching documentaries. There's so many out there, Netflix, and of course you can find them anywhere. But just educate your partner on what's involved in being whole food plant-based, because it really pricks your ears up, and your partners may be, wow, I can see exactly why you're doing it, or Christ, I didn't realize that was involved in it, or it's such a good reason to do it and I can do it. Try and get out of that mentality of just men being men, but rather men being supporting of their partners. So maybe watch documentaries, maybe a podcast in the car, just educate them so they know the reasons behind it. Cooking together, trying out, not having a split diet. Having a split diet must be very hard, cooking 2 meals. And listen, don't take this the wrong way, and it's not meant in the wrong way, but I'm sure in most households it's probably the woman, it's probably the woman within the household that's cooking the meals. Listen, I'm not saying that in any way, shape, or form.
Most of the time,
it certainly shouldn't be that way. But I'm sure in a lot of these sort of situations it is. Get the men involved with the cooking, do it as part of date night, do it as part of just being together, being a team. Cook 1 meal, don't cook 2 meals. Don't put pressure on the partner to have to cook 2 meals. And if them foods aren't in the house, it's so much easier for the person doing it. I guess giving up smoking. If your partner was giving up smoking, wouldn't leave cigarettes lying around the place or smoke in front of them. So just help each other out, be a partnership, be a group, be a team, be there for one another. If one of you wants to do it and they really want to do it, the other person should really get on board and help them out and do it. So educate each other, talk to one another. Don't think that your partner, you're assuming that they know exactly what you're going through. Talk, communication, knowledge is power, and just try and be on the same page, because it's gonna work. It makes life easier. And yeah, these are the biggest things that I would say for sure. And get out of that mindset, men, of that you need to eat meat, because if that's the case, then you're just being a douchebag. You don't need to eat meat. Simple as.
No, we absolutely don't. Like I said, the science is out there. If you actually want some science, let me know in the comments, and I will throw you some papers of research that has been done, prime studies that have been done. Got some book recommendations, and if you want any podcast or documentary recommendations, pop in the comments below. I would also say just take it one meal at a time, guys. As soon as you go full hog, cold turkey, excuse the pun, then people start to back out, right? It's the same with anything. It's the same with weight loss. It's the same with completely changing a diet. As soon as you go full in, it becomes really difficult because you're changing everything at once. And all of a sudden, the part of the brain that is designed to protect you goes, whoa, 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 this is too much. I can't do this. And then it backs out, right? And then you go, no, I'm happy with where I was, which could be so uncomfortable. You could be experiencing a lot of pain, a lot of IBS, bloating, hypertension. You could be on the wait list for a heart attack, right? But that might be more comfortable because the idea of changing everything at once is too uncomfortable. So this is kind of how the brain works. It doesn't work very logically, ironically. So just change one meal at a time. Just change all your breakfasts, or just change all your lunches or your dinner. Guys, you are not going to die from not eating meat once or twice a week. And then once you get accustomed to that, once you get used to it, expand. Try 2 meals a week, try 3 meals a week. It doesn't have to happen overnight, but just be supportive. Like, if you are a decent enough person, you will want to be supportive. And being supportive just means listening, learning, and trying. I think, like, at the very least, like, give it a good go for a few months and see what you feel. The reason why or your partner might be asking you to jump on board is because they want to spend the rest of their life with you. And the problem is if you are consuming these products, it is literally shortening your life. So they want to spend a longer, happier, more energetic life, more abundant. But if you don't want that, then they're going to probably also feel a little bit upset that you don't want to share that with them.
Yeah, and likewise, if there are men that want to do this and their female partners aren't getting behind them, I guess it's not gender specific, just partners in general, whoever's on this journey, just help each other out, support each other, and be really sneaky with your menu choices as well. Start using flavors, spices, chuck stuff in there. It can't be a boring menu. It just spice things up get decent cooking books, cook stuff that really pleases the palate, and start tricking people with these dishes, and get things like tempeh. So when people are eating it, I can guarantee you could create a sweet and sour dish with tempeh, put it on the table, and afterwards say to them, did you enjoy that chicken sweet and sour? And they'll be, yeah, that was lovely and sour, but it wasn't chicken, it was tempeh. And they'll be like, huh? And if I say, well, I didn't like it, and say, look, come on, man, you clearly liked it. So just trick them that it's done. Just experiment with new flavors, taste spices, create decent dishes. Because if you're just going to put something bland on the table, they're going to be like, nah. Create something special, get some decent cookery books, create some great dishes, support each other, communicate.
Being plant-based and being whole food plant-based isn't just like eating cardboard nowadays. The food that we cook is insane. And if you need ideas, I have a free 7-day meal plan. I've got a 28-day meal plan that is being completely revamped as we speak.
We're not creating it literally as we're cooking it. I mean, we're taking pictures, but we're so happy and proud of it. We're adding this one in. We're adding this one in.
So yeah, I've got a free 7-day meal plan which has the most banging lentil bolognese on there. I have so many compliments on that lentil bolognese. And I've got a 28-day meal plan. If you purchase the 28-day meal plan before the new one comes out, you get both versions. So basically, you've got 2 months for the price of one, and get some good cookbooks. You know, there are loads out there, but choose wisely. Again, if you want my recommendations, pop in the comments below. I think that's everything. I think we have bored everyone to death. It's now been 50 minutes. Thank you so much for watching. I very much appreciate you coming on, Peter.
Appreciate you wanting me to come on. Hopefully, if it helps just one person, that's all that matters. I mean, I see you working so hard, changing people's lives, changing my life. Just keep doing what you're doing. You're smashing it. Thank you. Thank you.
All right, guys, I'm going to do the same as what I always do and forget how to turn this off. All right, thanks. Bye.